Well, honey buns, do I have a special for you this evening? We will be reviewing 5 classic anime movies. And look, they're listed out for me to read for you. Akira, Vampire Hunter D, Ninja Scroll, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. I'm pretty sure there's not a space between blood and lust, so that's our first fuck up of the evening. And Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade. Wow, so exciting. I selected these as classic anime movies. The one qualifier was that they had to come out before the year 2000, but I cheated and put Bloodlust on here because I wanted to do both Vampire Hunter D movies. So it's 2000 and beforehand. And I will be doing a sequel video to this, a sequel exercise where I do watch 5 modern classic anime movies coming up here. Can I remember which ones I've selected? The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Paprika, Your Name, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, and the Sword and the Stranger, or whatever that's called. So you can look forward to that after this one. But here we are today to review good anime. That is old anime. Of course, all new anime is bad. We all agree. Also, I didn't want to put any Ghibli movies on. So it's like the classic anime movies that aren't Ghibli that I haven't seen. I'd already seen Perfect Blue, or it probably would have been here. What other ones? I've seen some other ones. I just don't remember them right now. And we'll be going in order I watch, which is the order they're listed out here. Obviously not in release order because Akira comes before Vampire Hunter D, but it's actually from Vampire Hunter D's before that and Bloodlust, and it just makes sense, Also, for the modern one, I've selected like 5 directors. Different, like they're all different kind of famous directors. Here, Ninja Scroll and Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust are directed by the same guy, and obviously Vampire Hunter D and Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust are the same series, etc., etc. We'll get into all that as we continue. Let's get into our first one here, which is Akira from 1988, if you can believe it. Look, I have a 4-picture setup here. Isn't that so pretty? Recently, this isn't even recent. This is like a year and a half ago, I think. Alita rewatched this movie. It was one of my most favoritist orbiters. And he dropped it and said it was terrible, which is funny because Akira has talked her out like it's one of the greatest movies of all time. Definitely the greatest anime movie of all time. It's very influential. We've got the bike shot up here in the top. That's the right corner. Which is pretty iconic. We've even got this iconic little disc player selector thingy shot. It's been reused in Arcane a lot. It's referenced a million other places. It's in the new Naughty Dog game trailer for the Intergalactic trailer. Akira is very famous. So I knew quite a bit about this going in. Well, at least I thought I did. Well, actually, I thought the movie was much simpler than it ended up being. I thought the movie was about this kid over here, and I'm pretty sure I knew that neither of them were called Akira. And this kid over here's body was melting or something. And it had to do with a nuclear bomb. And I thought the whole movie was this guy chasing this guy around as he destroyed the city or something. That is not really what Akira is about. And that was probably the most surprising thing. I ended up, are you ready for this? Oh my goodness, you think there's just one slide about Akira? Oh, we've got the pop-up here. We gave Akira 4 out of 5 stars. Akira is not at all what I expected. It's very, very, very weird. Akira has way too many characters, and it's got this sprawling, very complicated plot, and there's a lot of bureaucracy in it. It's very, very different from what I expected. And it's all attached by these weird action set pieces that are very weird. I don't know. Akira's a weird movie. None of it really connected with me too much. Obviously, it visually looks really cool. But I will say it's not a high 4-star. It is a little weird. It is a little boring at points. It is, I think, a little longer than most of the other movies on this list. Actually, I have the little letterbox things up for all the movies, so I'm going to read a basic plot overview for the people who might not know, as explained in 3 sentences by Letterbox. A secret military project endangers Neo-Tokyo, not Tokyo 3, that's from Evangelion, when it turns a biker gang member into a rampaging psychic psychopath that only two teenagers and a group of psychics can stop. There you go, that makes sense. So these guys are in like a bike gang, and like there's like 5 people in it, and they're all like characters in the movie, and the movie like opens on a bike gang chase or whatever with like these characters that never come back. It's so much is like happening now, and I know that Akira is based off a manga. I know the mangaka is the director of this movie too. It's a very Nosker of the Valley of the Winds type situation. I know the manga is like 6 volumes long, which is obviously pretty ambitious to try and get into one movie. I have since learned, because I watched a video about this, that like the movie was made in the middle of the manga, so it didn't have like an ending, which is interesting. So a very weird all-round package here for Akira, I would say. Let's check with my notes exactly what I have to say. Here is not what I expected at all. I thought it was about a kid named Akira chasing a kid named Tetsuo while his body was turning into a monster. Well, whoop-de-doo, I already said that. What's crazy is just how convoluted and wild and windy the plot is, and how many freaking characters there are in this movie. They're all straight up delinquents too. All the characters in this are like super evil. They're like terrible people. Like our main group of like biker kids are like very much portrayed as like these like mean, nasty, like they just kill people, like innocent people in the beginning of the movie, or at least I assume they do. Like one of them goes through a restaurant window and his bike wheel like lands on the head of this guy, and his head doesn't explode or anything, so maybe by anime logic this guy's still supposed to be alive. But there's other things where like they're smashing people's cars as they drive through them and stuff. It's like this is like clearly some sort of commentary on like the youth being delinquents in Japan at this time or something. So that was also interesting. The fact that all the characters were like pricks. The nicest character ended up being like the military dude, I think, who like seemed to care about those kids. Another thing I'd never ever seen. It's interesting how much I had never seen of this movie. Like there's a bunch of like old looking children who like look like they have like old decrepit skin. And they're all like psychics and stuff. And Akira was like one of them. And Akira is not actually a guy. He's like he was a guy at some point, but now he's just like a bunch of like science bottles in a fridge underneath the city or something. It was like a twist with that. Towards the end of this movie, it does get very like existential, and none of it really resonated with me. And I'm having to, because obviously this was the first one I watched. I probably watched it like 20 days ago, maybe a little bit. No, probably like 15 days ago, 2 weeks ago or something. So I'm a bit hazy on the ending details. But there's an explosion. It's about like coming together as one and separating. And like the guy kind of gets redeemed, and he's not dead or something. He's just moving on type imagery and stuff. The best part of this movie is like the flashbacks at the end, where it's like them meeting and like all the kids like developing their psychic abilities and stuff. I remember thinking those were cool. But true, everybody was really evil in this movie. There's so much going on. There's like meetings and stuff of like bureaucratic city stuff. Anime movies do that a lot. Ghost in the Shell did that a lot too. It's like a very convoluted scenes explaining the convoluted plot that probably doesn't need to be in this movie at all, about how like this subsection of the military is under the control of this, and here's the city planning board, and let's rope into them like the plot and the themes, the metaphor of the city and what a city means and all that sort of stuff. I know, it's kind of cool. I like bureaucracy. I like bureaucracy things. But it's kind of hard to keep focused on certain things in this movie, I think. It would be very interesting to see like a good video essay from somebody who thinks this is like the best movie ever, or somebody that's really in tune with the themes of this movie. But it seems like what most people say is it was just popular at the time, and it's like a visual spectacle, and that's why people like Akira as much as that's why it has the reputation it has, which I can see definitely. But it did feel like it had more acumen or something like that, as somebody who has been on the outside of Akira's fandom for a long time, I guess. I will say, vaguely enough, I am kind of interested in the manga. I will probably put it on a list to read it. It's already on the list. Will I actually read it? I'm not sure. It's not like nipping at my heels, but I am interested in seeing like how certain aspects would be fleshed out and stuff. Because obviously there's a lot going on in this movie, and if they were let to breathe, I feel like the story would probably be a little better. So yeah, we'll see about that going into the future. Oh my god, my next note is about Akira being based off a manga that I have not read, which is usually weird because usually I wouldn't watch the anime before reading the manga, but I thought, Akira's short, it's a movie and stuff. I could probably enjoy the movie then watch the manga. I don't think if I read the manga, I don't think I'd ever enjoy the movie, so we did it this way to maximize. What word am I trying to say here? Maximize my enjoyment. Yes, I basically just said exactly that in my notes here. The Colonel guy not being evil and caring for the kids was kind of cool. True, we already talked about that. I didn't really care for the brother versus brother rivalry. The flashbacks at them at school were cool, though. That is true. A big point of this movie is that, like, these two are at each other because he's kind of been the big brother the whole time. This guy's kind of been the little brother. This has made him insecure, and now he wants to be the big brother. And now he has crazy psychic powers, and they have, like, fights and stuff throughout the movie and disagreements and things like that. This guy also has a girlfriend who's, like, very nice to him, but he keeps, like, being incredibly mean to her. That wasn't cool. Oh, there's some cool imagery stuff that I've just remembered now of, like, when he's first getting his psychic powers. First of all, when he has his headaches and he gets a bunch of flashing visuals, obviously that's very Evangelion, and I love that a lot. So I love the flashing, he's fucking holding his head and he's seeing a million different things out of context that will be important later on, or the future, or the past, and all that. I love that type of shit. There's also a scene where, like, a bunch of toys come to life and, like, attack him in his hospital room. I remember feeling like that was really cool. And, like, it's revealed that they're, like, the little kids, and the little kids have their little play area in the basement of like, the laboratory and shit like that. All that stuff is cool. The visual presentation. It's crazy that this movie came out 3 years after Vampire Hunter D. True, we're going to talk about that next, but that movie looks like a very old 80s anime movie, and Akira obviously looks like sort of the 90s anime aesthetic and what you would understand old anime to be. And it's crazy because in Ninja Scroll, which is a movie that comes out 5 years after this that we'll talk about third, looks like it came out way before this. I don't know if those two were like OVAs, because they are both 4:3, whereas this is widescreen, like proper movie looking. So I don't know if it's just a difference of like a cinematic budget versus a made for video budget or something like that. I don't know too much about the behind the scenes. But that's true. Because this looks like anime as I understand it, whereas they both look old. True. Such is the visual legacy of this movie. True. Obviously, this was a very influential movie. This movie literally could have invented how anime has since and forever looked. I know it was pretty popular, bro. The visual style itself, I wasn't like freaking out the whole movie about how pretty it was. And I will say that's true for all of these movies, which I guess kind of spoils my thoughts on a movie that's coming up that is like very well renowned for its visual splendor, that I wasn't too impressed with it, but we'll get to that fourth. It's interesting, and I was thinking about this a little bit. I just don't think I'm impressed with animation a lot. Especially animation, it's usually always more art style for me that would like impress me or something like that, or singular pieces of imagery. There's an example I thought about where and I've talked about this a little bit. We watched those Fujimoto one shots, right? And Alita did what do you call it? He did reaction videos to them, and in his reaction, he'd just be sitting there and he'd go, "That was a very nice piece of animation." I remember specifically 2 instances. It was like the opening of the 4th one where the girl picks the legs off the spiders. Shikaku, I think her name was. And he was like, "Wow, this is an incredible tracking shot of animation here." And then there's the one in the mermaid one where he like does a run and dives into the water. And he's like, "Wow, that was a nice piece of animation." It's like, I've never thought that in my life. That's not true. I do think that sometimes. But in both those instances, I just looked at it and was like it was no different to live action to me. Like, I wasn't impressed. Like, I'm never like aware of the artistry of anime when I'm watching it, like, and I don't really care about that stuff. So it's interesting to me, and I really came away from these movies with that being like the thing that I've learned from this. Like, if I think of my favorite pieces of animation, they're like Naruto fights. Now I'm gonna no spoilers, everybody. Where it's like doing a really cool. It's always like cinematography stuff or like concept stuff. I'm trying to think of anything that isn't Naruto that I think visually looks good in anime. Like, there's a million Evangelion stuff, but a lot of that is like still shot imagery or editing, which is like a different thing altogether. What else do I like? I don't know. But no, that's something that's fascinating, because I don't think in any of these movies I was like, "Oh, that's a cool shot" sometimes. But it was like when a cool thing was happening, not when a piece was like a nice piece of animation or whatever. So animation maybe doesn't capture me, you know. That's why I like the great manga more, maybe. I don't fucking know. And yeah, that's just something I was thinking about. There were iconic recognizable shots like the bike shot, the body horror stuff at the end, the disc select thing, and the lights. True, in Akira, the lights like follow them around, and every animation ever since has done that, and it does look really cool. Also, a big thing in this movie is there's a protester backdrop. Like, that's a big thing at the start, and I think it's supposed to reflect some sort of civil unrest that was in Japan at the time or something. Like, there's clearly some context I'm missing as a no-good guy Jin. But overall, Akira was okay. You know, I think if I was to rate all these movies, it might be the worst out of the 5. Like, halfway through one of them, I definitely thought one of the other ones was worse, but then it had, like, a terrific ending that I thought was cool. I think Akira will be an interesting one to, like, go back and watch. I will say, I did watch the sub for all of these. I don't think for Akira that's too controversial. I know for Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, that's a little controversial, so maybe we'll talk about that when we get there. But true. So that was my experience with Akira. It's okay. It's pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. You know, it looks really pretty. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's interesting in how weird it is. It's interesting that it's so popular despite how, like, convoluted everything is and how much is going on in this movie. So yeah, Akira's fascinating, you know. But next, we have Vampire Hunter D from 1985, the oldest movie on the list here. Not the oldest anime movie I've seen, as I'm remembering right now, because I've, of course, seen 1001 Nights. What a movie that was. Which I guess... never mind. I can't say that. It'll spoil the scores for the rest of them. Vampire Hunter D. So I got to get my Letterboxd description up. Vampire Hunter D is based off a novel series, which is interesting, because I am, just like I said with Akira, where I'm interested in reading the manga. I think I'm more interested in reading the Vampire Hunter D novels. With this, obviously, we're doing 2 Vampire Hunter D movies here. They're not direct sequels at all. Like, they don't reference... Well, they reference each other in, like, homage senses, but they don't reference each other plot-wise. So it seems very disconnected, even though through the little bits of stuff I've learned since watching these movies, it seems like this movie is based off the first book, and the other movie is very loosely based off the third one. So that's interesting, but it feels like a very serialized episodic thing of, like, D shows up, fights a monster, leaves, and the monster is a vampire, usually. I will say, and why I'm interested in watching, maybe reading some of these stuff, because they're all collected into, like, little omnibuses. I was looking it up. They're like $40 each, though, and, you know, I like to save my money. You better Patreon if you want me to fucking be allowed to buy this stuff. I do like all the conventions of this. I like D. I like all of his powers. I like the tropes that have already been invented by just seeing 2 of these stories. I like the hand guy on his hand. He's got like another being attached to his hand that, like, eats things, like a Naruto character. We're not talking about that though. Alita, he might be listening. We can't spoil him. That, like, eats things off the ground and stuff like that, and, like, brings him back to life at one point in the movie. So I don't know. I like the world. I like the characters. I like the concepts. So I would be interested in more stories like this. It is interesting that Ninja Scroll, which is the one we're going to cover after this, has, like, a follow-up anime. There's never been a Vampire Hunter D TV anime, which you would think would be a very easy thing to do, especially with so much source material and stuff like that, and how seemingly popular it generally is. But anyway. Our Letterboxd description for this movie is: in a far future time ruled by the supernatural, a young girl whose name is Doris, by the way, requests the help of a vampire hunter to kill the vampire who has bitten her and thus prevent her from becoming a vampire herself. Now, what a write-up that was, huh? Doris is here. She's beneath the vampire in the top right corner here. Other than that, she's got, like, yellow hair, and she's kind of cute and stuff. Very much a fan service girl of the time. And, you know, we love that. We love fan service here. We love anime. I'm typing on my phone to get the Ninja Scroll one up to be ready for the next one. Can you tell? Vampire Hunter D is really cool. I do like it a lot. I guess we'll just get to the score. This one is also 4 stars. Vampire Hunter D is 80 minutes long, so we love that. It's very short. I do like this one better than Akira, I think. It is a lot... Is it even simpler? Is that even a word I would use to describe it? It actually is similar to Akira in the sense of, like, there's probably too much going on in this movie, and I think that probably reflects its novellic nature. There's like so many characters, and there's, like, probably one too many plots. Though I like all the characters and I like all the plots, so I wouldn't want any to be cut, but maybe just like maybe 10, 15 minutes more of the movie, though I did really like that it was short. We love a short movie. All these movies are pretty short. Anime movies tend to be pretty short. It's hard to animate a 2.5 hour movie. That shit's crazy. I think Jin-Roh was the longest one. It was 1 hour and 40, so... And this one was probably the shortest at 1 hour 20. So yes, the girl at the beginning... How this movie opens is fascinating. It's just like a 3 or 4 minute scene where the main girl is like hunting and you have no context for it. Well, actually, the first scene is the scene in the top left corner where you get the shot of the creepy looking castle and the futuristic setting. It kind of has a bit of a Star Wars setup where it's like... it seems old, but it's also in the future, where obviously we've got knights and chariots and sword fights and vampires and stuff here, but it is in the far off future, like a bunch of stuff. This is very much the case in Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, because there's a fucking spaceship in that movie. But there's a lot of gothic imagery, more so in Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, I guess. But even here, where it seems like a medieval town almost, but they do have modern electricity. Like, they have electricity, they've got electronics and stuff like that. There's, like, a bunch of moons and planets in the background and stuff like that. So it's the hodgepodge of, like, old and new is interesting just to see visually in a bunch of different ways. My first note written down actually is, this movie is very charming. And that is something I would say. Everything, I was, like, intrigued by everything I saw. I kind of like everything I saw. Whereas with Akira, some of the things I saw were like off-putting. It's like, this is a little weird. What an odd choice. And why is this so popular? Was kind of like the narrative in my head as we went through that. Here it was just like, that's pretty cool. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Oh, what an interesting concept. Oh, you gotta help young Dora. She's in trouble. I'm remembering the point I was getting to before, where it's like, there's too many characters. Like, probably, like, the Count over here has a daughter who, like, is very into the fact that she's part of the nobility, but then he, like, reveals to her halfway through the movie, you're actually half human too, just like our boy Vampire Hunter D over here, who seems to be in a dramatic reveal at the end, like Dracula's son with, like, a human woman, so he's like a Dampere, they call it, or whatever. That's like a half vampire. And that's why he's so strong and stuff. And the bad guy, like, realizes that because he has, like, a portrait of who I'm assuming is Dracula in, like, the corner of his room. And he's like, no, it can't be. That was a pretty sick moment. When he's, like, bleeding out everywhere. Also in this, there's, like, there's a windiness to the plot in this movie, too. Where, like, Doris gets bitten at the beginning, but she just gets, like, left there, and the vampire is going to come and get her later. He's, like, marked her to come and get her. And then he sends, like, his minions. So we've got the one, like, minion guy who, like, throws things. And then you've got the daughter, and they, like, go out and they go after D, but D fights them off. But then somehow they do capture the girl, and then the girl escapes again, and, like, she's out doing things again, but then she's captured again for the climax of the movie. Then she's in, like, a transient state as they, like, walk to their wedding thingy or whatever. It's like she comes in and out of being captured and being a damsel, and it's kind of interesting. It's kind of unique. It's kind of also weird. Like, we're pish-pashing back and forth. There's also, like, the mayor's son character who wants to sleep with Doris and is not a good guy and is, like, fucking around, but is also, like, fearless and is, like, running around fucking with these vampires, thinking he can beat them all and stuff, and he has, like, a secret weapon that, like, weakens them and stuff like that. It's wacky. Some cool shots in this, huh? Look at the shot of when the vampire first shows up is really cool. There's a bunch of cool D shots. D then attacks the castle, but then he also leaves the castle and then comes back later, and not even because he gets beaten. I'm pretty sure he just, like, confronts the daughter and then leaves at some point, so it's odd like that. But first time he goes to the castle, he fights, like, these 3 serpent ladies, and, like, they capture him, and they're, like, coming on him, literally, by, like, feeding off his force energy or something. It was kind of like the Slan scenes in Berserk a little bit, which is funny, because Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust has a few Berserk references, I'm pretty sure. Though this is obviously preceding Berserk. Berserk wouldn't start for 4 years after this. Obviously, D is very much like Guts, where he's got a big sword. He runs into town to kill the bad guys, and he seems like a bad guy, but he's got a secret heart of gold. Though D has a much more direct secret heart of gold than Guts does, especially at the beginning. Guts is a prick at the beginning, but D is just such a nice guy. He just wants to help everybody. This is, again, further emphasized in the second movie. But also, like, there is a love story with him and the main girl where he clearly wants her. He does leave at the end, and this is also what happens in the next movie. So it's like, clearly like a trope. Like he's gonna fall in love with each one of these girls. They're gonna fall in love with him, and he's gonna have to leave at the end because he has to travel around on his mission to kill all the vampires and stuff. And they have a heartfelt goodbye, which is at the end of this movie and is really cute. It's also cute because when he kills the bad guy in this, his like whole castle crumbles, and then like the whole world transforms to be like luscious and green and stuff like that. And then when he's saying goodbye to everybody, it's like on a green valley and stuff like that. So that was cute. He fights a lot of different weird monsters in that castle too. It's a cool movie, you know. Short. I nearly said simple again, but it's like complex and it's like plot machinations. But a simple tale done right, I would say, with a lot of charm. So I like Vampire Hunter D. It's a cool thing. Whenever people bring it up, I'm going to be like, I've seen that movie. That movie was pretty cool. Whereas with Akira, I'm going to be like, I've seen that movie. You like that movie, huh? What do you like about that movie, huh? And be very inquisitive. With Vampire Hunter D, we're going to be cool guys if we've both seen it. But I think that's about all I have to say. Vampire Hunter D left an impression. And this, along with the second one, was like, I'm interested in this franchise. I think this franchise is cool. I think the setup is cool. Alita E is messaging me. If my video is done that's already been uploaded, I frickin' hate this guy. He's interrupting me. Already booming in views, he says. You know, whatever. Anyway, Alita, you fucking idiot. We're moving on to Ninja Scroll here. Now, Ninja Scroll is a fucking movie. Let's not even waste any time. We got 4.5 stars for the Great Ninja Scroll. It is the best of these 4 movies. Crazy, you might think. Ninja Scroll is 90 minutes of non-stop, non-stop fucking action. This movie fucking rules. Let me tell you about it through my letterbox thingy that I got up from before. Jubei, that's the guy in the corner, that's the main guy, is a masterclass ninja who travels the land alone. This setup seems familiar. Lending his services to those with gold, or a worthy cause. His fearsome abilities have served him well, but the plot to overthrow the government threatens to end his wandering ways and possibly his life. What that leaves out is that he's got to fight 8 demons in this one movie to achieve this goal. Now, actually, I think some other characters kill like 2 of them, but he fights a bunch of them, and it's really, really cool. You can see one of the demons in the corner, and what you might not expect is the sexy lady with the tattoo on her back is also one of those demons, so you better watch the fuck out. Actually, I think they're the first 2 in the movie. That's not to say the other ones aren't cool either. What's most breathtaking about the Great Ninja Scroll here is how fast it is, how quickly it moves. Every single other one of these movies takes its fucking time. It's setting up some tone for the first 20 minutes of the movie. We got some long shots of some pretty things. Ninja Scroll doesn't give a fuck. Actually, it looks very pretty most of the time. Is it probably the worst looking movie out of these? No, there's some sequences in this that are definitely great. I don't even know why I even pretended that for a second. And, it's just balls to the wall. Like, there's a bunch of these movies, actually, start with, like, 20 minutes on, like, a character that isn't the main character. And even when they do that in this, it's, like, really cool because it's with our main girl over here. We love the girl. Who I guess if I scroll down, I am on my, Kagero here. I'm such a fucking genius. I can use Letterboxd. The movie starts with, like, a bunch of ninjas investigating, like, a plague in a village. And it's like really interesting and engaging, and the way all the ninjas like speak and the way they're bowing and stuff, and you know it's in like feudal times. Now this is actually in olden times. Actually, they have guns in this, so it's like the 1600s or something. But there's no futuristic cool stuff in this movie, sadly. And it's like her and her crew going out. She's like a poison tester. She's immune to poison. This is plot relevant later, where she has to have sex with our main character to unpoison him. It's pretty epic. That they don't actually have sex. Sadly. They didn't get to. We'll get to it in a second. And she goes out with them to investigate, and they get ambushed by 2 of the fucking demons, and they all get slaughtered, and this girl nearly gets raped. She definitely gets kind of raped. Penetration doesn't happen. But, because our main guy shows up and kind of stops it in a very casual sense. But this intro is super engaging. You get this shot where this guy's, like, in the shadows, like, destroying them all. And then he, like, rips this guy's arms off and drinks his blood. And then he, like, transforms, and then he kidnaps her and rapes this girl. Now, that's a crazy opening. That's all in, like, the first 15 minutes. But actually, she was poisoning him by letting him kiss her and stuff. It's a very disturbing scene. He, like, puts his whole this guy's, like, a giant, right? So he puts his whole mouth, like, over her face. It's very gross. But she poisoned him while she did that. And that's why this guy can beat him in a second. And this guy's gone by like the 30-minute mark. Anyway, It's like super sick. What an intro. And then we go right into our main guy. He shows up. He's the coolest guy. He's eating a rice ball. He doesn't care that these guys are trying to kill him. He fucks them up. He's like got this super cool thingy where he swings his sword and, you know, it's like a projectile and it cuts people up. He's like the greatest swordsman ever. And he just starts fucking people up. And basically the movie after that is like a sequence of him fighting like 7 demon guys with really cool powers all in a row. And it's all sick. Can you believe I'm talking this glowingly about a movie that's basically like 7 prolonged action sequences? But it's not. It's got the romance of a lifetime. This girl and this guy are slowly falling in love as they're mean to each other. And it's very sweet. And you won't get this. The fucking girl dies at the end. And I was so sad. It was so sad. She got stabbed by the guy she was supposed to be serving, who was actually the main bad guy in disguise. He stabbed her through the back, and I was like, oh, no. And then I was like, she's not going to die. Don't be silly. And then she bleeds out and dies. And she's like, I do love you. And he says it back, and it's so sweet. And then, like, see this thing she's wearing on her head? He puts it on, like, his sword, and it's really cool. And that's the final shot of the movie. He's walking off with her thing on him, and he's changed forever because he was in love, and it's so sweet. Also, it's like these two, and there's, like, an old man guy who's, like, working for the government. And these demons are, like, working out a gold deal with their leader for, like, the shadow government, but their leader is actually just going to fuck up the shadow government when the shadow government shows up at the end of the movie on this cool ship. They have the final fight is on, like, a ship, and it's all on fire and stuff, so that's pretty cool. I was recapping the plot, I think. Anyway, it's like the 3 of them going around trying to figure out how to fight these guys. So we've got this guy who's like a giant made out of stone. We've got this girl. Now, these snakes aren't tattoos. They're real-life snakes, and she's like Medusa, and they're going to like jump out, and she's going to be naked and stuff. Then there's a girl who like explodes stuff. There's a guy that electrocutes stuff with like strings. There's this guy who's like this hunchback loser troll-looking guy, and he's got a literal beehive or a wasp hive or something on his back, and he like shoots out 1 trillion bees that just keep coming. And then there's a guy who's like a ninja who like can melt into shadows and stuff like that. And I'm forgetting some of them or something. I think there's one extra one because there's 8 demons and I think I've named 6. And then there's the leader who's immortal. He has a backstory with our main character. Our main character chopped his head off a long time ago, but now he can't. Because he's such a good ninja, even if his head gets cut off, because he has such control of his body, he just makes him like reconnect and he's alive and you can never kill him. So we coat him in malted gold at the end, and so he ends up at the bottom of the ocean. So that guy's freaking dead, if you know what I'm saying. We fucked him up at the end. It was really cool. He killed our main girl. It was very cathartic. There's one more. Can I remember? I can't. Oh, it's the swords guy. Like, the most famous part of the movie is there's a blind swordsman guy who's just a blind guy that's really good with swords. And he looks like a bunch of Naruto characters. He looks like the Hyuga clan. No spoilers. And him and this guy have a really cool, like, technical-looking sword fight in these bamboo trees. And he's, like, blind, so he's, like, sensing him out. And the girl has to save him again. That one was really cool, too. But it is, like, it's very green shaded, so it's, like, a famous part of the movie I'd definitely seen before I'd seen the movie. There's also a part where when he's fighting the ninja guy who's in the shadows all the time, it's very red. Oh, it's some cool color work in this movie. We love the color work. See, this movie was like such a blast. It was so short. I cared about the main couple. I liked the 3-way dynamic they had with the old dude. The villains were interesting. There was like a villain girl who was in love with the electrocution guy, who was like the main guy we kind of saw throughout the movie. But he was in love with the dude that was running the whole camp. He wanted to be his little boy toy. But he wasn't interested or something. Or there was a comment that he does have sex with boys and girls, but he wasn't with her. And there was another one, like this girl here, I think, was sleeping with the main guy or something. And that guy was jealous. That's why he sent her out, like, second to get killed. And there was, like, some dynamics going on there. It was freaking sick, bro. What can I say? Ninja Scroll is a 9 out of 10 movie. Not quite a 10 out of 10. I don't know why it's not, but it just isn't. But we love The Great Ninja Scroll, the best movie out of these 5. I don't know if I have much more to say about it. You know, it was fucking sick. I like all the environments in this movie. I like when we do have slow scenes where it's people just moving. I think a lot of it has to do with our main character here. I actually forgot to read my notes. I only had 2 for this movie because I was recalling them. He's very much like Spike from Cowboy Bebop, I think, in his nonchalantness and his like expertise. Like, the way he saves the girl from the rape scene is, like, incidental. He doesn't even address that she's there. It's not like he comes in hulking like Gutswood or something to save from rape. He's, like, asking the guy for directions in the middle of his rape. And the guy starts getting annoyed and he says, buzz off, guy. He says, but I don't want to. I really need to know where to go. And then only when the other guy attacks him does he kill him. It's kind of weird. But yeah. Also, their third guy, the old guy, was just like evil in the end. That wasn't cool. But it kind of kept you guessing on his motivations and stuff. Is it like a government agent? And before you see all the other ninja guys, it's like, oh, what are they going to look like? We've had such cool guys with cool powers so far. What a cool, intriguing, engaging, thoroughly entertaining movie The Great Ninja Scroll is. We love it. A bunch of action set pieces and cool demon enemies I have written down. I couldn't believe the girl fucking died. I couldn't believe it either. Oh, I've since, because I kind of watched some videos on a bunch of these movies. People really don't like Ninja Scroll for its portrayal of women, and I think all that stuff is really retarded. I watched a whole video about how it was bad, and I wanted to scream. So, if you think that, you're a retard. Sorry about that. Ninja Scroll clears. Your favorite movie. And your favorite movie might very well be the next one, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. This was the big movie going in. I think this movie has like a 4 point something on Letterboxd. It has a 4.2. I think the most liked review underneath it says this might literally be the greatest movie ever. It's safe to say I probably don't think so. We'll just put it on screen. I thought this movie was good. It was a 4 stars movie. But it is one of our great disappointing 8 out of 10s. We can put it in the Claire Obscure Expedition 33 category. We can put it in the monster category of things that I was really looking forward to and I thought were really going to be my shit. And then I got into them and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, I guess. I think probably the main problem with this movie is it does feel slow in parts. And the ending's kind of weird. Not the actual ending, but like the whole third act is very weird. There's like an introduction of like a new character. And there's like a lackluster, what do you call it, resolution to like the main plot of the movie, I think. And again, I don't think any of the imagery like struck me too seriously. Obviously the movie looks cool in parts, or it constantly looks really good. I don't think it looked like, oh, this is my favorite visual movie I've ever seen. Something like a Ritual or even like Challenges or anything to do with Evangelion, I guess. Where I'm like, this is like a striking, great visual style, and I'm loving, I want to screen cap every screen shot of this movie and play it. I will say the actual ending last scene is very effective in this, and I do like it a lot. This was the one I said earlier was actually controversial for me, probably watching the sub, because apparently this movie was made mostly for the West, because Vampire Hunter D was very popular in the West, and it's not as popular in Japan, so like they animated it for the dub performance, but I listened after hearing this, and in the video that was talking about this, they played clips from the dub, and I thought the dub sounded absolutely fucking terrible. Like, the hand is like this improv comedy guy, which I think was absolutely atrocious. So I'm very glad I didn't watch the dub from the little bit I saw. But dubs are always bad, so you should always go with the sub. What can I say? I'm about to start Cyberpunk Edgerunners in the dub, and I'm sure I'll love it. We'll see. Where do we begin? This movie has a bunch of cool twists. I think another problem is this movie's a little slow, and this movie is like an adventure movie where we're constantly like chasing things from place to place. And I think it's kind of to the detriment. And it's funny because I was thinking about this because for some reason recently we got into a Star Wars argument again. And like I love Solo, a Star Wars story, and I love like the first 40 minutes of The Rise of Skywalker or whatever the 9th movie is called because they're like going on an adventure. I didn't really like the adventuring in this movie, so I don't know what this says. Maybe I'm not as in love with adventure. But I think it's bad because it's a chase, not because it's adventure. We're like going through a bunch of different environments. So basically, oh my god, did I even read my great letterbox thing? I got it up. This will clear everything up. These letterbox things have been pretty bad so far, so let's see if this one is good. D, a legendary damphair, competes with a motley family of bounty hunters to track down Charlotte Elborn, a young woman who has seemingly been abducted by the vampire nobleman Mia Link. Is it Mia Link? Could we be that lucky? Mia Lee? My goodness. Anyway, so basically, vampire kidnaps girl, D chases them, but there's also a family of bounty hunters that are also chasing them. And then eventually, like, the vampire has, like, or apparently vampires have a contract with other monsters that other monsters, like, have to defend them. Or maybe it's just the monsters from this one city. It started with a B or something. It was cool because we actually went through the city, like, we chased through the city. And a bunch of other demons and stuff tried to attack D and everybody else. And 3 of them were actually important and kept following them. In that way, it kind of felt like a Ninja Scroll. Now, this is directed by the same guy as Ninja Scroll, so honestly, it doesn't seem like it. There's not like a lot of crossover, I think. Maybe conceptually a little bit, but not really. So anyway, there were like 3 demons following around, and one of them used the shadows and stuff. So maybe that's similar, I guess. The most interesting part of the movie is the vampire thing, because the twist is that the girl actually wanted to be abducted by the vampire, and they're actually in love. And like, there's a confrontation on like the top of the chariot or something as they're going through a tunnel, because again, this is like the futuristic met with, like, I don't think I mentioned this in the first movie, but Dee's like horse is like a cyborg. So it's that futuristic sometimes. But they're on top of a chariot that's being pulled by horses that I think were also cyborgs, actually. So it's not that old as is a horse and buggy type thing, but whatever. Buggy D Clown, what the hell? They have a fight on the top, and D gives exposition. He's like, you're a famous vampire because you've never bitten anybody. So it's like, oh, this is like a good guy. And it's like, why is he biting this one lady? My goodness. But then you find out, oh my god, they're actually in love. So it's like a good thing. This vampire guy's a good guy. And that just is the case. There isn't a twist from there. And they're basically trying to get to this place because they're being chased, right? By D and by this other family. And they like go to this old ancient castle where like this notorious blood. It's like, this is like a folklore thing because there's like a Game of Thrones equivalent to this of Lady Went or whatever, where it's like a girl who seemingly is a vampire who used to like bathe in the blood of like virgin women to like stay youthful or whatever. It's like, man, there's that old castle where that lady used to live 1,000 years ago, and she's like still there kind of a little bit when we get there. But then suddenly she comes like the bad guy of the movie because she is like obviously like the vampire goes there thinking that she is going to let him use the massive spaceship at the center of the castle to fly to the moon. Or actually, it's not to the moon specifically. It's like to the edge of the stars where it's dark all the time or something, because vampires can't be in the sun, right? Cool ship design, by the way. But obviously once there, she's like, no, I want this young lady for myself. And she like starts tricking him. And then D shows up and they like both kind of fight her and stuff like that. By then, most of the family of bounty hunters is dead except for our main girl, who isn't actually part of the family but was like adopted by them, who is Layla, I think, who's like the main love interest for D in this movie. This relationship was good again. Like, I like the one with Doris and I like the one here. And how it resolves is kind of cute and or kind of bittersweet and stuff like that. Anyway, like the intrusion of this third like bigger villain at the end is kind of annoying, and I don't think I like very much. Though she has like some cool powers and she's kind of a cool concept, and the scene where it's like talking about the legend of her is cool. But like it's not resolved. Like D is like, I don't understand now that D knows that the girl wants to go, like why he's still following them, and like why they have a fight to the death at the end and he kills the vampire guy, right? If I'm remembering right, I feel like he does. Or the vampire guy like goes down with the crumbling castle because the castle crumbles at the end. And I think the girl dies too, right? Or she gets in the spaceship and the spaceship takes off. I don't remember the ending. No, it does, because our main love interest over here is like clearly on their side, and she's like chanting to herself. This was a good part of the movie where she's like she's watching it from a distance, she's like, fly, fly, fly. She's like rooting for them to get away. But I'm pretty sure one of them is dead. Maybe the girl's on it and she's leaving or something. Because I think she had gotten bitten at that point, so she's like a vampire now. But basically, it's like two tragic like romances at the end that don't get to be together. Because D like has to leave at the end. And then at the end, we time skip forward. Oh, there's a cool interaction with like an old dude where D's horse gets blown up. He goes into this random town. He like buys a horse from an old dude. And like the sheriff shows up and says, old man, you can't sell a horse to this fucking disgusting vampire. We're going to kill this motherfucker. And they're like shooting guns at him. And the old man like brings out a big gun and he says, motherfucker, you ain't. This guy, one time, a bunch of kids in this village got kidnapped, and a guy came and saved him, and that guy was that guy, and guess what? I was one of those kids, and this is like an old man. It's like, it's like the reveal, which you kind of know from the first movie, is that D is like thousands of years old, but it's like puts into context this old dude. It's like a kid when D saved him and stuff like that. So then it makes sense at the end. It's like a 100-year time skip or whatever. Probably not that much. Probably like 70 years or something. Where we're at the main girl's funeral with her. Like, there's clearly a girl, because at some point we get like a flashback of her. And the girl looks like her from the flashback, so it's like her granddaughter or whatever. And like D like came to her funeral because at some point he like promises that if she dies he'll lay like a flower on her grave or something, and he came to do it, but then he realizes he doesn't have to because there's other people to put flowers on the grave because she grew as she aged, she had a loving family or something. And it's a very sweet, like, oh, time has passed, he's still here, the girl he loved is dead, and he's her grandchild, and he didn't even have to come to her funeral because she had such a life without him. Though there is enough room to interpret that like this is his grandchild too, because the 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 grandchild says that, oh, she, like, after talking to him a little bit, realizes who he is. So obviously the grandma had talked about her, but she also has a comment about like how like the father would like be happy to see him too. Now it's possible the father had just heard the stories or something, or that it's like his son and like he hasn't seen him in a long time, and she knows that too. So she's like, oh, your son would love to talk to you, but he like rides off because he's got to be a solo and he's on his mission and stuff like that. But the movie, it dragged in some parts. There was some things going on. It was kind of slow. I wasn't too invested in any of the particular relationships. They all have like really strong parts. Like probably the most emotional part in the movie is the moment I mentioned where she's like cheering on the it's desperately. It's very well delivered. I really like, and like framed and stuff with like shots of her face and then cut with like this spaceship going off where it's like fly, fly, fly. That's really cute. I really like that. Well, why was I bringing that up? It was the most cool emotional part of the movie. Oh, because I was saying I wasn't too into any of the relationships, but I guess I kind of was in that aspect. But, nothing wowed me too much. The brothers have kind of a cool relationship. They all slowly die. One of them's name is Kyle, so that's pretty cool. He was not the coolest one. He was probably the least cool one. He also looks like the guy from the first movie, so I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be a reference. Oh, I mentioned the references about how there's no like plot references to the original movie, but there is like some visual references. Like when D first goes into like the city of demons, we do see some of the demons from the first movie, like similar designs. Like we see the serpent girls, and we see like this one flying guy that he fought in the first one, and one of the brothers looks like one of the other guys he fought in the first movie. So I don't know if that's all supposed to be references. Obviously, by the time this is made, Vampire Hunter D is like a popular movie with like fans and stuff, so it's a little bit of fan service there now. A little bit of fan service. Well, there's not really that much fan service in this one. I don't remember any sexy shots or anything like that. Unless I'm forgetting. There was in the original version. My goodness, that Doris girl, like you could see her underwear every shot. Epic. But yeah, they were chasing each other, and the action wasn't as engaging as the Great Ninja Scroll, of course. Oh, the Berserk references. So obviously there's like a rain scene and they hide under a tree and it's a short-haired girl and the Guts-looking dude. But actually it's Guts that's being nursed back to health by the girl here. So that kind of seemed like a reference. And the princess's name is also Charlotte in this. So, and the vampire that takes her has blonde hair and is very pretty and stuff like that. So, and there's like a chariot and stuff. My goodness. So I was like, these could be little Berserk references here. It's like 3 years after the 97 anime where all those images would have been from, so I believe it. But that's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, I think. I don't think I have too much else to say. There's a cool shot at the beginning here, which is like the top right-hand corner one, where D has like a thing where his cape goes up on his horse, and he looks cool in front of the moon and stuff like that. I remember that. But true. And I like all the concepts, as I said. So, I'll read some of these books one day, maybe. I'm in a big reading mood. It's only like 20 days into the year, and I already read a book this year. It was a 80-page book, but, we still did it. We love the Hedge Knight here. But I think that's it for Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Now we go to the weird inclusion on the list. I think this is probably easily the least popular movie out of these. This is Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade, which is kind of the third movie and like the third spiritual movie in this like series of Mamoru Oshii movies. But the other two are like live action and kind of have a similar concept to this, but are also like wacky comedy movies, I think. This movie is not a comedy movie at all. I don't think there's a joke in this movie. So there's that, and I think like the image of the main character, like the dark armor and the red eyes, is like a popular thing. Well, it's also in a bunch of things. Like it looks like the Killzone guy, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure there's some other thing that they're probably both referencing. This movie also looks really weird. It's not that popular, but it is written by Mamoru Oshii, who is the Ghost in the Shell director, the Angel's Egg director, and the director of the first 2 movies in this kind of series. The director himself didn't really direct much else after this, so... well, movie-wise, I'm sure he directed a shit ton of TV anime. I just looked on Letterboxd, alright? Hiroyuki Akira, that's his name. But anyway, I got the plot synopsis up. A member of an elite paramilitary counter-terrorism unit becomes traumatized after witnessing the suicide bombing of a young girl and is forced to undergo retraining. However, unbeknownst to him, he becomes a key player in a dispute between rival police divisions as he finds himself increasingly involved with the sister of the girl he saw die. So this is our main guy in his armor. His whole troop has this armor. And then over here in the top right corner is the girl that's about to blow herself up and traumatize him. He was supposed to shoot her because she's a terrorist. But he didn't. He hesitated. This is the supposed sister of this girl. She's actually revealed not to be her sister, crazy. But they do look similar and stuff like that. Who he forms like a romance with. And this is them on this one actually really cool shot where they like walk up this spiral staircase. And it's really crazy how they like come into the foreground and go into the background. I have a whole thing. This is like the movie I have the most notes on because a thing happened while I was watching this movie that makes this movie very interesting. I guess we will reveal this one is also getting 4 stars, but it's an interesting 4 stars. I'll read out my note here. For most of the runtime of this movie, I thought it was kind of boring and uninteresting. I thought it was definitely the worst out of the 5 movies. It's got a very unique aesthetic, if you can see. There's like no shadowing on the faces. Look here, there's a shadow. But like, there's like no shadows in here on the people, and the way the faces look is really weird and unique. It feels very like in between cell and digital, where it's like we're kind of trying to figure out what anime looks like right now. It's like a very, very, very unique aesthetic of how the faces look. If anything, it kind of looks like US anime, like how the faces look and stuff like that. It's not animated like that, where it's stretchy and stuff like that. But it is like a style, and I do think I like it, though while you're looking at it, you always think it kind of looks odd. So that's kind of like a unique, cute thing. And there's some incredible care taken in the little details of animation, which I kind of didn't care about. That is true. Like, if you watch any clip of this, every comment in the YouTube comments is like, my goodness, did you see the way the guns were animated and how everything came off and how her hair flapped in the wind and how they walked up in this cool staircase, which is actually a shot I did like. There's actually one scene, because a lot of really little details went into the way, like, the characters are animated, I think is, like, a touchstone of this movie. There's like a moment where like the guys are having a meeting and they all get up to leave, and one of the guys like gets up and then like runs his hand along like the couch in a weird way, and I was like, whoa, that's like a really cool little detail. That's like the one time I realized it or noticed it. It kind of goes in contradiction of what I said earlier about not noticing little pieces of animation, but for that I was like, oh wow, like, did you see the attention to detail there? But there's a lot of that in this movie. So this movie was kind of really boring for sections, and it was pretty long. The first 20 minutes of this movie is like a long, prolonged riot scene where basically we follow this main girl who's going to blow herself up at the end, where she's like walking through the streets and like the back alleys and stuff around the riot. We're seeing different parts of the riot, but she's like delivering these cases, which are big explosions to throw at the cops to like kill a bunch of them. This is like a 16-year-old girl maybe. And then, like, her and her group get chased into the sewers, and there's a big hunting scene with the guys that look like this, and they all gun them down. And it drags on. It's also intercut with, like, 20 minutes of credits, which is interesting. That was kind of cool. I kind of respected that. But even in parts there, you're like, this is kind of slow and boring a little bit. And then, basically, it becomes like, well, first of all, the first 2 minutes are, like, a whole backstory about different military groups and stuff like that. Now, actually, I think the story of the background here is actually, like, Nazi Germany taking over Japan and then, like, instead of America. So there's, like, a lot of Nazi imagery, I think. But this, like, I had watched a video before, I watched a video recently about this movie, and that's why I included it in this 5, and it definitely explained that in that movie, but I had completely forgotten by the time I watched the movie, and I didn't notice it at all in the movie until I watched a different video afterwards that also went over that, and I was like, oh yeah, that's supposed to be an aspect of the movie. So it's not that big of a movie, it's just kind of like an alternate history, like, backstory thing. Kind of like Wolfenstein, huh? But not taking over America, taking over Japan. Why did that was on the lead up to something. Oh, that's like kind of like implied in the first 2 minutes of the movie, which is about a bunch of like political like military wings that are feuding with each other. And like, I don't know if I really care about this. This is a weird way to start your movie. And then it's like an 18-minute riot scene. And then immediately after that, you go into more bureaucracy stuff. And I actually have this written down somewhere where it's like this movie and Akira are like kind of similar. And there's a lot of bureaucracy stuff going on. And it's interesting. A lot of meetings of people sitting down of characters you don't really know who are in high places. And it kind of relates to your main character at the end, but the main characters feel very separated from it until the very end when it like all overlaps into the bigger plot. Another aspect is how little you get out of the main character. Like, he seems to be traumatized, but he also has an odd line at the movie where he's like, where somebody asks him, like, why didn't you shoot, dude? Like, obviously you should have shot this girl. Like, you've been demoted and stuff like this. You got in trouble for this. She was going to kill herself anyway, and she nearly killed you, and, like, you should have shot her. And he has a line where he's like, I don't know, it was the weirdest thing. I was, like, meant to shot her. Like, I was thinking to shoot her. And it's like his body like stopped him, but he doesn't like show. He's not like crying as he said this. Like, oh, he just has like this like face the whole time where it seems like he's like sociopathic or something, which does come back in the ending. And then the movie after that kind of goes into a love story kind of thing where this girl shows up and she's the sister. Like, he goes to visit this girl's like grave or whatever. Even it's in like a building though. I think she like got cremated. Well, obviously she got blown the fuck up. And there's like a little sigil and she's like praying outside the sigil and she says, if you're part of the organization, leave or something, thinking he's like a terrorist who's come to like talk to his sister or whatever. And they like hit it off and they start walking around. There's a lot of shots of them like walking and kind of lightly flirting. There's a lot of philosophizing going on. That I actually did like, which I usually don't like. And Ghost in the Shell, which is another thing Oshii, I think he wrote as well as directed, was like, that has a lot of that maybe isn't as good. But I did like, and especially how it all ties into the ending that I keep hyping up. And then it's a lot of romance, but then there's like a twist. Oh no, that girl wasn't actually that girl's sister. She's been like a plant the whole time because there's like two big factions that are at war, and they basically want to settle their war. They want our main guy to be the like, to be framed basically as being a terrorist, and like everything bad can be blamed on him, and like then they can like move on, and he's like the sacrificial lamb or whatever. And this girl was actually a terrorist. She was kind of a sister to this girl because she did the same thing. They call them Little Red Riding Hoods. They wear red hoods and they like walk around with bombs and then hand them off and then sneak around. They're girls, so they're unsuspecting or whatever. And she'd got arrested, so she was like recruited to do this, or they would have killed her or something. So like the romance was kind of fake. But was the romance fake? And obviously the romance was real, and they have like a kiss as they're running away because it's like a setup where it's like they're trying to set them up for her to hand a fake bomb to him and get caught, but he like realizes it and like takes out a bunch of guys, all while not showing any emotion or anything like that. I'm just recapping the plot of the movie, but this is like, you're like kind of interested in all this, and it kind of feels like this movie is lacking like some sort of something. And then at the end, there's like scenes repeatedly throughout the movie about like this mysterious group of wolves, and like they're like a secret unit in the secret unit or whatever. And basically the reveal at the end is that the main guy all along has been a member of like this wolf brigade. Oh my god, that's why it's called that. And like he has to fight off like a bunch of guys at the end to like save himself and the girl. And he does it. It's a big scene. There's like a rival character he's had throughout the movie that he shoots off to, who was supposed to be his friend, but was actually in on setting him up and stuff like that. It's like, oh, it is a cool reveal of like that thing that's been mentioned throughout the whole movie. Like one of the instructor guys that we've kind of liked throughout the movie, and this guy are part of it. And it's crazy. And it's like, wow. And it's like he's like this super soldier guy, and like, was he actually like not shooting that girl at the beginning? Was that all about, or is this all a ruse? And you sort of don't. He was the whole time like a main character that didn't give you much, but now you're kind of learning that it's because you kind of thought he was like dead inside because he was a soldier and he was traumatized by this once incident. But now you're kind of questioning everything as he like guns them all down. And then it's like, then his group wants to kill his love interest girl because like it'll be better. Like they need the other groups to think they have her, but the only way for them to always have her is for her to be dead, because then they can't get her or whatever. So they kind of want to shoot him. And then the main guy leaves like the decision in the main guy's hand, and you're like, oh, they're gonna love each other and stuff like that. And throughout the movie, they've leaned into this Red Riding Hood like fairy tale thing where it's like, obviously Red Riding Hood is about a little girl being tricked and like by the big bad wolf, and like the big bad, like you didn't even know you're getting tricked the whole time. And initially you think it's the guy that's getting tricked by the girl because she didn't actually love him and it was all a setup. and the guy getting like treated like society by this because he's going to be the discard, so they can like all live happily ever after or whatever, and end their feud or whatever by pitting everything on him. And then at the end of the movie, he shoots the love interest girl, like he kills her. And it's like the craziest twist to a movie you've ever seen in your life. And like it ends, because the whole time with the big bad wolf thing, like they've never gotten to the end. Like they keep stopping at a point. Like I think the first time they tell it up to the point where she's like in the room and she's going to hug the wolf and she's like, man, what weird ears you have and what weird eyes you have and what sharp teeth you have. And then it like has cut off and it's like, well, obviously we all know how this story ends. The big bad wolf fucking ate her. Well, actually, I think in modern tales, like a huntsman jumps in and kills the wolf or something. But in this old version of the fairy tale, you're going to get killed. And it's like, oh. Like, it was actually the dude the whole time that was the wolf. And this girl was like, came to him and she was literally Red Riding Hood the whole time. She had the red coat on. You're like hoping for her and she didn't see it. And this guy's like a wolf, right? He's in the wolf brigade. And he shoots her at the end. It's fucking crazy. And basically it's shown off like he has like no emotions kind of, and he screams and he clearly doesn't want to do it, but he's like so programmed by like the military. It's clearly like a take on the military being bad and fascism and stuff, but he's so programmed that like this love story, like he could have had a way out. Like the commander literally says he can choose what to do, but he chooses to like do it because maybe he's scared of getting into a relationship. Maybe it's like, oh, it is actually better for his group. It is better for his mission. There's a million reasons he could have shot him, but it is like the last line of the movie is the commander dude finishing off the nursery rhyme about how like, and then the wolf killed her or whatever, and it's like, whoa, what a crazy, great, weird ending that like recontextualizes everything in the movie. What a crazy like resolution, and you like never watch this movie from the beginning the same ever again. And I guess the reason why this is a very impressive thing at the end, and the reason why this isn't like 5 stars is just because I was kind of bored for the rest of the movie, I think. And why I probably think Ninja Scroll was better because it was just a better viewing experience. But this is like one of the most interesting movies I think conceptually I've ever seen. Aesthetically and story-wise, crazy. Oh, and there's a bunch of philosophizing that I like. So obviously the big bad wolf thing of like who is the wolf and who isn't in like general life and stuff, and how that can change on a dime, and it's kind of up to people in their engagements on who will be the wolf and who won't be. And you kind of have to let yourself be Red Riding Hood, which I think is a neat thing, because obviously the whole Red Riding Hood story, as she's like pointing out all the things that are weird, but she doesn't like suspect them seemingly. It's like Red Riding Hood is kind of an idiot who seems to be like letting herself get into this situation. And that kind of being like a commentary on life of like every time you get fooled, you kind of are letting yourself get fooled in a way. And you're like ignoring the signs because of love or something, because the Red Riding Hood loves her grandma, and these two loved each other and both got betrayed by each other, and it's like crazy. There's also a very good monologue that they have when they're out. They're like in a park, and the girl is like, oh yeah, you come here all the time. And there's like a small destroyed building to the side. And like neither of them who have like grown up in this area can like remember what it looked like. And it's like a very relatable experience. Like if something changes in your house, like if you get new carpet or something, or you renovate the kitchen, or something in the neighborhood changes and buildings start to get knocked down, like in 2 weeks, you've completely forgotten what it looked like beforehand. And, like, the fact that you can't remember it and the fact that things have changed permanently, like, really do your head in. It's, like, a very existential moment of, like, angst. And she sort of has, like, a reflective monologue here where it's, like, did we ever even see it if we, like, don't remember it now? It's, like, in tatters there. Like, the materials are still on the ground and still I can't think of what it looked like. And, like, I walked past this thing every day. It's, like, how much else are we, like, walking past every day and wouldn't notice if it changed? But it's so, like, it actually is ingrained into your mindset of like, it's so there that it's not even there anymore. And that was like a cute little monologue. So I liked all that stuff. What a wacky, engaging, interesting movie. I was in the middle of my note here where I said the ending kind of reframed the whole thing, and the genericism and boredom I took out of the parts was now crazily recontextualized. A romance story where the guy just kills the girl at the end because he's ordered to or because it's his nature. It's like a very interesting what if. It's kind of like Devilman, where it's like, what if the bad guys just won? And that's like the conceit of Devilman's ending. And this is like, what if you just shot the fucking love interest at the end of this romance movie? What the fuck would be then? Like, because you see this trope a lot, right? Where like the the guy has to make the decision whether or not to, like, kill the love interest that he's fallen in love with throughout the movie and side with his, like, troop. And, like, it never happens. But here it did happen. It's like a I wish it happened moment. It's crazy. It's like a crazy what-if scenario I have written down here. The Red Riding Hood analogy: older sister mindlessly into walks mindlessly into the wolf's clutches. Oh, true. There's a recontextualization here because at the beginning of the movie, you think the girl that blows herself up is really foolish for, like, being involved with the terrorists and blowing herself up where she could have just run away and different things like that. And it's like, what a silly girl. Why'd you do that? And at the end of the movie, you're like, she, like, was looking at the wolf and tried to take the wolf out with her with the explosion. And, like, she wasn't just going to go peacefully and let it kill her. Like, she was going to do everything and she was going to make a stand and stuff like that. It's like, she's not the silly Red Riding Hood. The sister that we like is, because she, like, just, like, died hugging the dude who shot her. And it's like, whoa, crazy. Because you obviously think this is, like, the more sane, rational one, because she isn't, like, when you meet her, you're like, she isn't a terrorist or, like, blowing herself up. She's got, like, a very different disposition and she's not all in on this crazy political stuff. But actually, she was all those things, and she actually was the stupid one. It's like, oh, wow, what a recontextualization. True, I read that whole one out. A long, drawn-out riot opening section. This movie was really like Akira in a way, in the bureaucracy way. True, we talked about that. Very sad undertones throughout. True, it is a very slow, sad kind of movie. And all, like, the environments feel very pale. This movie has a very unique color palette, which you can probably see here. Of, like, grimy, monochromatic type colors and stuff like that. The monologue about perception in the building being torn down, we just talked about. And that's all of my notes for this great video. I guess if I was ranking the movies, this would probably be second, just because it was so interesting. And I guess one day I'll rewatch this and maybe it will jump up to 5 stars or something, because I'll be more cognizant of everything that's happening as it happens. But what a weird, slow, dramatic, artsy-fartsy little movie this was, huh? And there's some crazy action sequences where he just, like, puts 1,000,000 bullets in a guy and their blood goes everywhere and they fall down. Crazy. What a movie. I like this one a lot, I'm assuming now. And that's the end of our thingy. So if this is 2, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust or Vampire Hunter D Original, which one do I like better? I honestly don't know. And Akira would be last. Poor Akira. Neither me or Alito really loved it. Though I watched the whole frickin' thing, so I'm a real boy. Anyway, that was my review of 5 classic anime movies and the ratings I would give each of them. I'm excited to do this about modern anime movies. People really like that Your Name movie. I'm really looking forward to The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. It's a movie I've wanted to watch for a long time. So we'll see if that will be my Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, where I'll be disappointed because I went in with a lot of hope. The rest of them I really can't, like, I really don't know what I'll think about. Paprika, I didn't really like Perfect Blue, so I know it has the Berserk guy music in it, so that's cool. Sword and the Stranger seems like a fighting movie, and I don't like fighting movies, so I'm not going in with too much expectation for that one. And what's the other? The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. That's like a movie Steins Gate references, so that's got to be cool. So we'll see. Anyway, I don't know if that'll be out by the end of the month. I'm kind of aiming to, but I'm also kind of busy for a lot of the rest of the month, so we'll see. That's where we'll end it. Look forward to that next video. Go watch my new scripted video that just came out, and stick around for all the other secondary ENT content. Support links in the description below. Thanks.